Hey, I've done this before.
Yeah, let's get back to this one. Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I am your host, Normie, and we have our two other hosts, Cunyato over here, down at the bottom. You know him, you love him, Santana.
So
So today we got a 4th of July week kind of makeup stream. We didn't stream last night. It was 4th of July. Everybody was kind of having fun. So we thought we'd hit y'all with a nice nooner and do a show right now.
Just for all of those of you who are waking up after having too much fun on the 4th, we've got the perfect time.
Yeah, exactly. And the perfect time, I'm not in my normal thing, so I messed up the intro stuff. I was playing around with it this morning to try and get some other videos on, and I accidentally deleted the 30-second countdown for one of the settings, so that's what I was trying to do, so you could swap between the brands. But when you swap between the brands, it immediately cuts the video. That I just figured that out now.
Oh, dang.
But it's a learning curve. We're still learning, even I
100%.
am.
You know, and normally we trust over here, buddy.
Only been using StreamYard since like 2020, but
when Normie's not here and the inmates are running the asylum, it can become a bit of a shit show. So you're allowed to mess up once every 20 streams or so.
Really?
Because if you're not here, there's going to be a hiccup, guaranteed 100% of the time.
whether that
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Oh man! But how was y'all's guys' 4th?
it's good.
Yeah, mine was good. It's slow. I'm still kind of getting back into the groove of things. I had a very sick dog for a little while, so sleep schedule's a wee bit off, and you can never have too much of our sponsor. But
Sure about that one, Cunyato?
never have too much of our sponsor and drive. Probably just don't have too much of it.
There we go.
Everything in moderation.
Yes, and responsibly. Cup of water in between each one,
Yeah.
that whole thing.
You got to stay hydrated, especially in this heat, man.
Especially right now. Jeez, I just did, on my non-run days, I still walk like a mile, and that was at like 10 o'clock this morning, and it felt like I'd ran it.
Oh man, just getting in my car about 40 minutes ago. I couldn't touch anything, and I have cloth seats, and it was still just that hot, sweltering out there, which is awesome because it's not like I work outside or anything.
Yeah. Well, I work inside, but my car is parked out. It's not in the deck or anything. So, when I get to mine, it's usually like 2:45 or so.
Yeah,
That's that right. Perfect. It's been baking all day.
Ugh.
It's at that point where I just like I'll get in and I'll leave the door open and then crank the car up and then roll down the windows immediately.
Oh yeah, 100%. You gotta do that.
And then drive for about a mile with the windows down and the air, and then roll the windows up.
I try to leave my windows cracked if I know the weather's going to be good enough to do it these days. Especially since my vehicles generally are carrying like tools and stuff that extreme heat is not good for, but and the batteries for them. But man, even with that strategy, it is. And down here in the southeast of the country, the heat, of course, is not going to get that close to over there in the desert, your southwest country area of the United States. but the humidity, man, you can swim through the air right now. Because we haven't been getting enough rain to cool anything off, but we've been getting enough rain to make it feel like as soon as you walk outside, you are just taking a bath.
It's moist. Moist out there.
It definitely is. It's definitely not the dry heat. It is that, you just walking to your car, you start sweating. Like,
Oh, yeah, you'll have a sheen on you if you're outside for more than 30 seconds. Now, our boy Santana here likes to still go sit on his back deck and read and write. I don't know how he does it.
There have been some days over the past couple of weeks that I've been chased inside. I can deal with a good steady sweat while I'm brain working, but there's been a couple of days I've opened the door and been like,
no.
Damn it.
Or you look at the Weather Channel and it's like, oh, it's only 92, and then you look at the feels like, and the feels like's like 105, and you're like, nah, I'm good.
Which I know that I'm like weather dumb, like I'm a stupid weather boy, but if it feels like 100 something, shouldn't it just be that temperature?
Well, there's a difference between kind of the air temperature and then adding in all the factors of humidity. And I don't know all that goes into it, but add in everything.
For me, all I need to know is what it feels like. I don't need to know the sciencey parts of it. I just need to know what's it going to impact. Like, what's the impact going to be on me when I walk outside?
Yeah. Well, at least they switched from the heat index and wind chill to just doing the feels like. And yeah, I can't crack my car windows because it is the South, and you could look at the South there in the summer, and you could look at your phone and say, it'll be like, oh, there's 0% chance of rain all day, and then all of a sudden the storm blows up and it rains like a half inch.
Oh man, how many times before I got into business for myself, 0% rain, we were getting rained on multiple times throughout the day, and 100% rain, and it was 0% of rain that we were getting, and no, you can't trust it.
Mm-mm. During the summer, all you gotta do is look. You just gotta kind of look outside and kind of judge. And it's like, it's saying 0% chance of rain, but those clouds are saying no. And
those clouds are saying something else.
And that that breeze is picking up really, really hard, and I can smell the wet, the freshly wet asphalt.
Yeah, you can feel the pressure drop too. What? My phone's saying 0%, but my ears are popping. The sky is really dark, and the breeze is everywhere. I'm not trusting my phone.
Yeah. The breeze just blew my hat off. I don't know.
My dad had a teacher that used to tell him, believe only half of what you read or are told. Don't believe nothing that you read or are told, and believe only half of what you can actually see. I think she was a bit of a skeptic.
Maybe a little bit. Went a little too hard into the 1984 thing.
Well,
yeah.
Sports, huh?
Sports,
huh? We've done 10 minutes on the weather for anybody who's tuning in and wants to know about the weather in Alabama.
Hot.
Muggy.
Hot.
Moist.
Moist out here.
Normie, you talked about earlier that you'd watched the first episode of Hard Knocks. I still have not watched it. Did you enjoy it? And Santana, have you watched it?
I have not.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed it. I usually don't get into the Hard Knocks stuff, but this morning I was just, I don't know, like here lately, I just been turning on stuff that is like I've seen a million times, so I just turn it on, and right now it's Archer, which is a great show. It's a great show.
So good.
But I was like, well, let me throw it on Max and see what Max has. I don't feel like doing Archer this morning. I my plan originally was just to throw it on probably some like DC animated something, but Hard Knocks popped up, but I was like, oh, it's brand new, and it's the first episode. I don't know when it aired originally, but
I think they generally come out on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think Tuesday this week it came out.
Okay, but yeah, I watched it and pretty much I was just laughing the whole time because they talk about end of the season, so pretty much the very beginnings of preseason, going into the senior bowls and the draft, things like that. Talking picking up free agents. It is about the Giants this year, which is very interesting considering the season they had last year.
Well, the roster they have this year.
Yeah. But it was funny just hearing all the stuff when they were talking about draft, and I'm like, man, this is exactly the stuff like these general managers and scouts and everything were saying that like I hear Santana talking about all the time. And also like pretty much the back and forth between all these people. I was like, this is what like I go back and forth in my head when I'm drafting my fantasy football team. That whole like, oh, well, we could sign Saquon back, but I don't know. There's the running back market's really open this year. All that. Should they franchise tag him? Things like that. Talking about
that created a lot of controversy. I've like watched some clips from that and article upon article on that. Like just that, it's not a war room meeting, but meeting of the top brass talking about it's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was, and especially like them talking about, well, like we're paying Daniel Jones all this money, like why are we going to also then pay like close to 10, 12 million for a running back just for him to hand it off to? Things like that.
I love that one of their things was the running back market is so good this year, and they ended up with Devin Singletary.
Well, that was one they talked about that they really liked because the general manager is a former Buffalo guy who helped draft Devin Singletary. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I may actually go back and watch that the New York one from last year. Just maybe binge it.
I've never watched Hard Knocks and not enjoyed it, but there's definitely times where I've watched and be like, that team's still not going to be good. But they do a really good job of making you not just fall in love with like certain players and certain storylines from team and player storylines and stuff like that, but they will get you hyped. I was like, damn, I actually think this team might have a shot.
It makes a lot of sense why they win so many awards and why it's such a highly touted show, because they do a fantastic job just from the editing to the way that they make a story. And then I've fallen in love. Liev Schreiber. I've fallen in love with literally every team that I've ever watched of the Hard Knocks. I'm like, this is going to be their year. I didn't watch Dallas, so that one doesn't count.
I didn't even know they had done one on Dallas. I haven't watched every Hard Knocks, but I've watched consistently for the last 6 or 7 years at least.
Yeah, they did a Dallas, and it was the one they had like the drone shot fly through the facility, like to open. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, "That's just too much Dallas for me." This show would be good, but just if the characters were different, the team. If this was anybody else, I wouldn't be enjoying this. But
I don't like the branding of the show.
Yeah, I just really don't like what is it?
Season's branding is pretty bad.
You have self-admittedly say that as far as characters go, that you like a lot of Dallas players. You just hate Dallas.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is arguably the best receiver in the league, or could be argued as the best receiver.
Could be argued for sure.
And obviously everybody, I think most people like Dak. He seems like a nice guy. So, and then obviously really talented. Parsons seems kind of like a goober, but he's fucking ridiculously good.
Oh yeah, no, he's a top 5 guy in the league right now. Maybe closer to top 1 or 2, but
I think that you can probably say that Parsons, between TJ and Miles and Bosa, Nick, that is, I think that you can put Parsons in that group. I think that he's every bit as talented.
100%. Yeah, no, that would be the grouping. I mean, that's why top 5, and then some people put him even higher to like the 1 or 2 position. But those are
Dallas fans do for sure.
Dallas fans put Dallas in the playoffs every year. Now, to be fair, they are now consistently made the playoffs. However,
I mean, they got like rocked by the Packers by a first-year starting quarterback who started off the year pretty terribly.
look, as an Auburn fan and as a Ram fan, making the playoffs is neat. But if you don't win in the playoffs, then it's just that much more disappointing. I don't know how they keep getting hyped.
It's neat if you are a team that if you're not one of the greatest sports dynasties of all time, America's team, like that team should not be okay with just making the playoffs. The Rams, Auburn, yes, that's great. You made the playoffs. Hell yeah, what a good season, especially for you guys last year, Kenyatta, with the Rams.
Or like the Texans. Like, that was neat to me.
The fucking Lions playing in the NFC Championship and having again one of the greatest sports franchises and of all time on the ropes. That's awesome. That's a loss you can go home. Yeah, I mean, but they did them twice, didn't they? Or maybe they just did it once. I think
just the once.
They were thinking about doing it twice, and then did the Aaron Rodgers Jets last year. But yeah, that team I was sold on, and I don't think that team went on to do a whole lot, and then it was actually this year that they came out and. But yeah, if you're the Lions, you can be excited about making the playoffs. If you're the Rams, you can be excited about making the playoffs. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, you need to be playing for an NFC Championship or Super Bowl or bust.
Or quit talking shit.
Please, God, maybe just sell the team and burn it to the ground. If I any advice as for a Dallas fan, be like, move on. Find something better.
Relocate.
I don't know. Pick any of the other 31. It's a better decision.
Hey, they had the Mavs.
Great.
And the Stars. The Stars were.
And the Stars.
Well. Good for them. Look, if the Cowboys
went to a national championship a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but
oh yeah, that was beating. We all knew what was going to happen too. We all knew what was going to happen. In fact, I thought it was going to happen against Michigan that year. I don't know what voodoo witchcraft were they playing in Jordan-Hare with TCU fans stacked around. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But then, once they found,
especially coming off a loss
against Georgia,
especially coming off a loss from a Kansas State team in the Big 12 championship, that Alabama beat by like 30 in the Sugar Bowl.
Yep. Dallas has had a lot of sport success over the last half decade, just not the team that they highly tout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you would think that would be, I don't know, like if you said, hey, over the past decade, Dallas sports has accomplished this much. Can you guess the teams that have done that? You would want. Now we all know as logical, rational humans that obviously the Cowboys are not going to be involved in any type of success. But like you would think that, like most people would probably say, yeah, like obviously the Cowboys were part of that. Nope.
Nope.
That go how you thought it was going to go?
Nope.
What did you learn?
And apparently nothing is what they learned.
Oh, yeah.
Stupid jackasses.
Man, as soon as this stream's over, send this to your brother-in-flaw, Santana.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him to skip the first 10 minutes. That's nothing but weather talk, but to listen to basically minute, 10 till now, because he will love this.
I don't want to get him started.
Well, I mean, just looking at their. How old is Brandon Cook? Okay, so he's 30.
One of the most underrated players of all time.
I mean, he's spent his first 5 seasons basically at 1,000 yards, and that was with like 4 different teams in 5 seasons. Loved him at the Rams, one of those. Or 2 of those, actually, I think. I think it was Jeff Fisher and transitioned into Sean McVay's regime. But no, I agree, Santana. Underrated. But I do think his whole thing is he's a little bit small. He's very, very fast, but at 30, speed does start to diminish.
A little bit.
Unless you're Tyreek Hill, in which case I think that he's just getting faster, and I have no. He's a freak of nature.
Oh, looks like we got a special guest here.
That's our Harrison.
Yeah, look at him.
Hey, fella.
Oh yeah, he didn't have an earpiece. He can't hear you. I love how he just wandered in, just like that's literally like the Big Lebowski thing, where it's like you're just like a child who wanders in the middle of a movie, like he just wanders in. Hey, what's going on?
That was amazing.
Oh,
Always good to see our buddy Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got another guest.
Santana shares his camera with no one.
This is my time to shine.
Got a guest from Harry and Mrs. Santana.
But yeah, looking at Dallas I mean, running Ezekiel Elliott as your number one.
They had every opportunity to go after Derrick Henry, and then said that he was too old, and they were not willing to pay a back that kind of money. And then they got a guy, even though Derrick Henry is still very productive. And then they went and got a guy who started to tail off his whole career with them on like his second contract after he'd been drafted. Same age as Derrick Henry. And talk about being too old to carry the load of a bell cow back. He's the definition right now. Like, he doesn't look the same anymore.
No,
may not happen this year, but
like you couldn't find somebody else.
Freshman.
Like, and I understand them wanting to bring Elliott back. I totally get it. But like, as your third option, like,
yeah, I mean, definitely not your starter. And look, I like Dowdle, Vaughn, and Freeman. And Zeke still has like some plays where he looks, like the guy from fresh out of Ohio State, but he'll never be the Zeke that he was those first 3 or 4 years.
I was gonna say there's a lot of guys that have that. Even like Matt Forte, when he went to the Jets, he was never the same after the Bears. Yeah, every once in a while he would have that like two touchdown game or so, but those were few and far between, and you could never judge which games he was going to do that with.
No, and I hate it for running backs, and I love running backs. It's one of my top favorite positions out of all 22 on offense and defense. But there is like wide receivers can switch team, quarterback same thing, switch team, switch scheme, switch whatever, and where you thought that they might be done, revitalize their career. That is beyond rare for a running back for that to happen. Once their production stops and starts to slow down, like you were talking about, Normie, like a guy like Forte, who was supremely talented, it's just it's not coming back.
Even in his last year at the Bears, he was doing just fine. But it was just like
Zeke is 2 years removed from a 12 touchdown season. I just went and looked to see what he contributed to the Patriots, because I was going to say, hey, at least maybe there's like goal line opportunities for Zeke there. But he only rushed for 3 touchdowns last year. I don't know that being back in Dallas is going to change much, especially since he did most of those 12 touchdown damage in the red zone at the goal line areas, and there's not a back on the roster who can fill in from the 20 to the 20. So
2020.
Also great to hear Matt Forte's name brought up in conversation. We need to talk about that man more.
Yeah, talk about underrated players.
Yeah.
Matt Forte and Brandon Cooks, I feel like, are on very similar levels.
Forte was like the all-time greatest fantasy player, and and nobody talks about him in high up there in running back rankings.
Well, no one talks about his dual threat ability. This guy was a great pass catcher too.
Yeah.
Well, in PPR leagues, there was a point where every year he was the first one off the board.
Yeah.
But even in standard leagues, like you could definitely rely on him. I think my first year I got him one in the first round. Now I won like 2 games that year, but it wasn't Matt Forte's fault.
Yeah.
I actually was like first or second in scoring that year. But there were many, many, many weeks where I was the number 2 scorer of the week, and the person I was playing was the number 1. But yeah, way she goes.
Talking about age and underrated players and consecutive seasons, and somebody that people don't talk about a lot, or at least enough, in my opinion. It reminded me of, and we don't have to talk about this. This is a freeform show post the 4th of July, so we're just kind of winging it here, viewer. But Mike Evans has never not posted 1,000 yards in 11 seasons. That's incredible. And yeah, everybody acknowledges him as one of the best receivers in the game, but how long does he have to do it before we talk about him being one of the best to ever play the game?
Well, I mean, and you and I were just talking about Larry Fitzgerald not too long ago, and how that a lot of his success came with unstable quarterback situation, and that is something that Mike Evans has certainly played with. I mean, yeah, Jameis is a numbers getter, so that helped him. Obviously, I think all three of us like Baker a good bit, and then he had his couple of years with Brady. But so I mean, he's done all of his stuff without any really substantial quarterback name too.
Well, and like helping the running game as well, because there were years they had Leonard Fournette. Now Ronald Jones was pretty good for a little bit, but not like somebody like a Derrick Henry or somebody like that.
They haven't had a star running back. Golly, I can't even think of the last Tampa Bay.
Doug Martin for like 3 years.
Yeah,
Muscle
the muscle hamster. Yeah. So just talking about fantasy, and the guy who faded in fantasy very quickly.
Well, and talking about guys that you mentioned, running backs, and how they just go from being great to hit a wall and then disappear. I mean, Doug Martin was 1,300-yard rusher, 1,300-yard rusher, 1,300-yard rusher out of the league. And it's like, how does that happen? Actually, I'm going to check those stats. I just want to see what Doug Martin.
But do y'all think it's like, is it just the wear and tear? Because I know receivers, they just, over the course of a year, they just don't get the wear and tear. I don't know if that's my offensive line bias or not, because we don't like wide receivers very much.
I mean, what I will give,
they drop the damn ball.
What I will give
an offensive lineman drop an open ball, especially for a first down.
Yeah, no, 100%, totally understand that. I imagine that, that from any position that has worked their ass off for the play to be successful, and then the one thing that you have to do perfectly right.
The only thing you fucking do in practice is catch balls.
But Tom Brady, I watched a clip of him either today or yesterday, very recently. He was talking about, it's like, look, I actually think I sent it to you, Santana. I should have sent it to our group chat for Brothers-In-Flaw. But he's like, look, man, like your perimeter wide receivers gotta run into the huddle, after every play. That's however many yards their route was. Run 20 to 25 yards to the outside, run down the sideline. Their route tree is somewhat limited because the sideline's your extra defender, like this, that, or the other. He's like, it's hard to, he said it, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, is like, it's hard to get the ball to your perimeter wide receivers, but you know that you have to, because otherwise they're going to start getting discouraged because they're running their asses off all game. And if they're not getting balls thrown to them, then that's where the upset comes from. And then it hit me, and I was like, damn, I've always thought of them as big, huge, giant divas. Not all of them, obviously. There's exceptions to that rule, but after hearing the GOAT talk about it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're not getting enough targets or this or that, like, basically then all you're doing is going out there and running for no reason.
I look at it like this, though. Again, coming from an former offensive lineman, we're out here for the team. If the team needs you to go out there and run these routes, hey, maybe you're a decoy. Like, I'm sorry, it's the team. Like, I don't give a shit if you're not getting enough targets.
And coming from an offensive lineman, and then we were talking about the running back perspective, where you're like having massive collisions every play, basically. It's like, just buckle up, Buttercup. I agree with you. Football should be utilitarian, like for the greater good.
Yeah.
Any team sport. It's speaking of Santana's Niners, one of the reasons why I love. It seems like most of the team is bought into this for sure, but these two specific players, and Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle, like those two dudes, like, I'll do whatever you need me to do to help us win. And every once in a while, Kittle more than Juszczyk, of course, but still, Juice has some incredible plays, specifically in the playoffs last year. A toe tap that I don't even know how many receivers could have made that catch. But it's like, no, it sucks not getting the ball all the time or, blocking all game when I know I can also be a running or passing or, whatever option. But if that's what the team needs, if that's what's working, and that's what you do. And wide receivers don't seem to buy into that as much.
Yeah.
As a positional group, once again, there's a lot of exceptions to that rule.
Mm-hmm.
Kittle was just recently asked about it at Tight End U, and he said something very similar about, I mean, obviously, I would love to catch the ball 10 times a game. All of us would, but I know, winning matters more. And he said something about at one point in time, he's like, he had a 3-touchdown game, and he's like, oh, hell yeah, like I'm about to start getting the rock fed to me. And the next week he had like 1 target. And he's like, and that sucks. Like, obviously I'd want the ball more, but that's also just what I got to do. And I think San Francisco is it's one of the reasons I love this particular team the way that I do. Like, obviously I love San Francisco as a whole, but this version of my team is one of my favorites because it does seem that I know that Ayuk's going through a contract negotiation and kind of threw a fit about not getting the ball a lot during the Super Bowl. But other than that, I mean, Debo kind of has the same mentality. Like, Juwan Jennings has the same mentality. Christian McCaffrey, who is, I mean, maybe the best football player overall in the league right now, has that same mentality. Like, whatever I can do to make the team go, like, that's what I want to do. And I think that's rare in sports. I think it's rare in humans these days. And to just be able to see it, for it to be so, like, tangible, like you can see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, like when you listen to the interviews and watch the players interact with one another, like all the mic'd up stuff on the sideline, like you hear, like this isn't just put on for microphones on the during press conferences, like this is how the team feels. And I think that's pretty special and pretty cool. And yeah, most receivers are not quite like that.
Mm-hmm. Or even wanting to block. There are a lot of receivers that do, and that are totally fine with it and will do it, and are good at it.
Well, I mean, and that's what another thing about San Francisco.
Debo, Cooper Kupp.
Debo, Cooper Kupp, Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is a mauler.
Juwan Jennings is a tight end when he's blocking. He's insane out there.
Yeah, he takes him to the bench and sits him down.
But it's actually one of the and obviously this is going to a college football discussion. One of the reasons why I think the Southeastern Conference has been so dominant is because a lot of the coaches are, if you don't block on the outside, then you don't play. I don't care how good you are at running routes and catching the ball. Like, over 50% of your job is run blocking.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and running backs and pass blocking.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think that's one of the reasons why Josh Jacobs didn't play near as much as he should have at Alabama, is he was not as good as a pass blocker. And it was like, if you're not pass blocking, yeah. What was that guy's?
Is that Brian Robinson?
No, Brian Robinson was excellent pass
No,
blocker.
no, no. Like the guy who was like playing ahead of Josh Jacobs.
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris, yeah.
Damian Harris was a hell of a pass blocker.
Yeah. Well, and also the reason why he got
Happy birthday,
a ton
Maggie.
of playing time for the Patriots, even though he wasn't all that dynamic, but under Bill Belichick's regime, it's like, hey, like running the ball and being a dynamic player is awesome, but fundamentals mean more.
Well, and I think that's why of all these Saban era running backs, one of my favorite is Brian Robinson Jr.
Yeah.
Because he was, to me, he was one of the better, like, all-around guys. Like, he wasn't extremely flashy running it, but he can do it, and he was good at it. He wasn't extremely great at, catching the ball out of the backfield like a Najee Harris was, but he could do it, and he did it well. Pass blocking, he was great at, but if you look at him overall, he wasn't a Najee Harris, he wasn't a Josh Jacobs or a Mark Ingram, but I don't know. I just always liked that he was not that huge, flashy guy, but just an all-around good football player.
I like that he can get hit 9 times and not walk with a limp.
Yeah. Or get shot and then, a couple months later playing in a football game.
That was insane. That was wild. It's such a crazy story. And good for him. And yeah, he's also a very low-key guy.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who seems to still have a bunch of tread in the tires. He's still doing very well for Washington. Yeah, no, I have nothing negative to say about that, man.
And then, like, he was always really good, too, at that, like, all right, we need a play. We've tried everything, or we need just somebody to step up. Nobody has been able to. And then, like, Alabama would throw, like, a screen to him out and get some, like, big first down or even a touchdown or something to, like, ice a game, something like that in a tight game. Like, he's also capable of making that sneaky, like, okay, we're not, it's 3rd and 9. There's a minute left. We got to get this first down. They're going to they're going to one of their good receivers. They're going to Jamison Williams, or they're going to Mechie to get this first down. And then it's like this sneaky, like, screenplay to Brian Robinson, and he is going to get 9.5 yards. Like,
oh, I think that's why the Niners are going to be a lot more willing to get rid of Ayuk, who is an excellent receiver, arguably a top 5 receiver. I mean, especially based on his statistics versus his targets, he could be argued maybe even closer to a top 3.
23rd in targets and 7th in, like, everything else.
Yeah, I mean,
yards, touchdowns. He's top 5, top 10 and everything, with being really low on the target scale.
But why I think that they would be willing to get rid of Ayuk, let him walk or whatever, if the deal just doesn't get cut this year, opposed to they really worked hard. I mean, obviously there was a little bit of tension there for a second, but they really worked hard to keep Debo for the same exact thing that you're just saying there, Normie. He's a tone setter.
mm-hmm.
He can make those big explosive plays. He can set a game off. He can change the tone of a game, and that is an intangible value that, yes, Brian Robinson brought to Alabama as well. Not so much to the Redskins yet, but that's because it's a terrible franchise.
I think it helped him because he got so much playing time, because he was in there with like the Tuas and the Jalen Hurts, where, like, Alabama was beating most teams by the 3rd quarter they were up by like 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, we'll put the freshman in or the sophomore in. And then he became, like the 2020 year, he was an integral part as the backup running back behind Najee Harris. And then even his year he had for himself, they were pretty good. I mean, Still made it to the national championship, won the SEC. But yeah, I think I don't know. I've just always thought of him as one of my favorites. Like not necessarily the best, and he wouldn't be in there in like the best, especially the Saban age, but it would be like my favorite. It's kind of like with Damian Harris. Like, of course, they ran him into the ground. But yeah.
It's kind of like how I feel about some of the Dallas players with Alabama players. Like there's a million Alabama players since Saban had been there that I freaking adore. And just if we could just talk about the running back room all day, Eddie Lacy, somebody who doesn't get talked about a whole bunch. Obviously Trent and Mark, like the pretty Saban's pretty good at the whole talent accumulation thing.
Well,
Yeah, it kind of seems like he's good at it.
Well, especially like knowing that these are going to be good college players. Like Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson had zero vision. He had zero vision at Alabama. He had zero vision, and it really showed when he tried to go to the NFL. But Trent Richardson,
his rookie year wasn't that bad.
In his college years, it was like he's just so damn big. If it's 22 dive, he's running in that 2-hole. Like it's gonna happen. Like, and we had a great offensive line at the time, so even just a small little hole, he's going right there, and he's sneaking through. And once he gets to the second level, it's going to be tough to bring him down. But you get into the NFL where it's those holes close up or they're not there. But hey, that cutback hole's there. Like he could never see that. He never had that vision.
I just had a weird thought for all of us here on the show. If Derrick Henry in his prime, which still might be right now, doesn't look like he's slowed up that much yet. Trent Richardson in his prime, who wins an Oklahoma drill?
Oh, it's Derrick, dude. Like Trent is something, but Derrick Henry is
yeah.
He doesn't get a whole bunch of momentum in Oklahoma.
Well, how far away are we? Like,
I mean, I think generally it's about a 5-yard split. You know, laying down flat, helmet to helmet.
Because I've run it so many times where it's like, yeah, it's like a 5-yard, even a 10-yard, or like your helmets are almost touching. Like,
yeah.
So in a helmets almost touching scenario, I don't know, it'd be a toss up there. The 5 or 10, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean he's juggernaut. As soon as he gets a little bit.
Well,
once he gets those couple steps, I mean it's
Here's always been my issue with Derrick Henry is that if he gets hit in the backfield, then that's generally where he stays. But I've never seen Derrick Henry get hit in the backfield and fall backwards.
No, he always goes forward still.
So,
or at least parallel.
He at least like probably falls on top of Trent, I guess. it would be my guess.
Yeah, no, you're right. And Derrick Henry is special. I mean, he's putting together a very solid argument to be a Hall of Famer right now.
For sure, and I mean it's kind of just like a million different superstar players that just played for teams that could never really get over the hump to where, you know, what will all of these yards and touchdowns really mean in the end? You know, I mean obviously for a Hall of Fame career, significant amount, but for him specifically, now him being on Baltimore this year, that's awesome for him. I hope that.
No, it's exciting, and I'm not a Ravens fan. I mean,
you nothing them.
Yeah, I'm nothing for them. I don't hate them. I don't love them. I love their color scheme, and I think it's one of the better organizations in all of the NFL or pro sports for that matter. Them and the Steelers both, which is wild that they're divisional rivals. Their sustained success throughout my lifetime. Like, are they always great? No. But are they ever garbage? Hell no.
I like that their mascot is a literary reference.
We have a Poe fan in the house. No, I'm excited to see him there, especially since now, with what they've got there in Baltimore, you can't just focus on him. I think it's going to be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I would
he
not
won't
like to play in that division.
He has been in a situation where he has toted like the majority of the carries throughout the season. Now, even like regardless of who they have behind him, Lamar is going to take a lot of that off of him too.
Mm-hmm.
He also should be able to take a lot off of Lamar's legs. But
I think I think this year will finally be that year where if Lamar really wants, if he just absolutely has to, and has to do it, and has to be this, I want to be this prototypical NFL quarterback, this is probably going to be the best year for him to do that. Because with Derrick Henry in the backfield, that's going to open up some passing.
I think it's a perfect marriage. I'm once again glad that my team doesn't play in the AFC North, which has never been a super easy division anyways. But between the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens right now, and then the Browns were a super solid team with 15 different quarterbacks last year at their tippy top with Joe Flacco, who I never thought I would see take a professional snap ever again. I mean, it's Santana. We were playing the game the other day talking about the toughest divisions. I think it's that one. Just thinking about it in these terms, I mean, a healthy Joe Burrow, which is hit or miss right now. In fact, his career is suspect in my brain. Like
a lot of
when
people,
he's healthy, he's incredible. But
a lot of people keep, and I brought this up to you the other day. A lot of people keep putting, like, anytime you see a list of great quarterbacks, Burrow's always somewhere in that list. And I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, we've definitely seen it. But I think that we've only really seen it the 1 year. I mean, even his health last year, like before he got hurt.
4 total NFL seasons and only actually played 2 total NFL seasons.
I mean, he's only had the one like really spectacular year. And I'm not trying to take away from Joe Burrow. Like everybody likes Joe Burrow.
I wish him nothing but the best. Man. He is very cool.
But and then I mean that LSU team was so much fun to watch, and then him when he's playing well in Cincy. But
it was all right, fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, save for a couple of games, I would say.
Yeah. Man, I still to this day that 2019 fucking Auburn defense, man. And I remember telling you, Cunyato, and this was way before Mac Jones had even like started or anything. Like I remember telling you, like, if y'all just had somebody like Mac Jones as y'all's quarterback, y'all would have a championship contender with that damn defense that year. God, that defense was so good.
Yeah,
it's
rare that we hurt for a defense.
Mm-hmm. But that year, man, they were damn good.
And the thing is, for a lot of our defenses, of course, we've got a bunch of 4 and 5 stars and whatnot, and Auburn finishes in the top 10 in recruiting, but not generally in the top 5. But good Lord, we always seem to be able to put together a hell of a defense with whatever pieces we have, and we send a lot more defensive players to the pros than we do offensive players.
We graduated / had guys enter the draft last year out of the secondary. I think we lost 6, and secondary is estimated to be one of our strengths this year. Means that how many guys played last year, how many guys have we just stockpiled in the secondary, So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it just has. In fact, pre-show, I don't think any of this was live. Yeah, I see it now. I've seen it zoom around the camera a couple of times. I've seen you do this a few times.
Dude, we got him fucking infested. Michaela says it means that somebody close to us is going to betray me. So I've got my eyes on you two for this betrayal. But yeah, dude, it's like the fucking poltergeist or whichever one has the flies in it. Like the
I think that's kind of a common theme in horror movies.
Yeah, well, it's happening. It's happening in Chelsea. So
the Poltergeist, The Exorcist,
Scary Movie 2.
Yeah,
of course.
With all
classic. But yeah, no, yeah, pre-show for our viewer out there, Santana and I were talking about our excitement for Auburn this year and just how there's really nothing negative to say moving forward right now. Um, it all just seems very positive. The only negative thing that I actually just thought of right now is will the quarterback position work out? Whoever does it. Clearly, it's Peyton Thorne who's going to start, but I didn't see anything from Peyton Thorne last season that made me think that he's going to be a solid starter. But spring game, he looked pretty good.
9-13 in the
seems to
spring
love him.
game. I think Hugh likes him. I don't know if he loves him. I think that Hugh's playing this NIL shit really smartly. He's spending a lot of money on the high school guys, and he says, "What money would I have to spend to get somebody like a Cam Ward, who was the quarterback that I really wanted in the transfer portal?" But I mean, a lot of guys out there like that is like, "What money am I going to have to spend there when I could be using it for like this giant group of receivers that they just brought in and the current class that he's working on?" And we're I think crystal balled maybe to even get Juju Lewis at this point. Currently committed to USC, but like the number 3 quarterback in the country right now. So like I think what Hugh has done is just said, what can I get done this year with the group of quarterbacks that I have, including Peyton Thorne, who does have more like he'll come into the SEC this year with more experience than well over half the teams, I believe. So at least he's got snaps under his belt. Again, 9-13 in the spring game. I said after watching the spring game that a lot of his when I watched him miss, they were bad misses, and that concerns me.
Because that's the par for the course of last year.
But coaches, players alike, if you're going to miss because of a bad throw, don't miss because of a bad decision. And so bad throws are fixable. And to come out of
I'd rather
game,
you airmail it or throw it into the dirt and throw it to the defender.
Right. And I think that the offensive line is improved. Brought in Percy Lewis from Mississippi State to play left tackle. We've got some older guys that have bumped down to play guard. Like the offensive line should be improved. The depth at offensive line is definitely improved. The receiver room is completely flipped.
I was about to say, because I was thinking because I had been thinking really Peyton Thorne, but also I watched a lot of Auburn football games last year, and I could not tell you the single name of any one of y'all's receivers from last year.
I'm an Auburn fan.
Not a single one.
I'm the type of Auburn fan that over the years I have known every fucking player on the roster. And over the past 4 years, I couldn't tell you like a receiver that mattered. This year, between the freshmen that we brought in the leading receiver from Penn State last year, Robert Lewis out of Georgia State. Cam Coleman obviously is the guy that everybody's talking about. Actually have him listed in some of my bold claims. But we also signed Perry Thompson in that class, who a lot of people say is basically Cam Coleman, like they're very similar guys. 2 other 4 stars in that group. So the receiver room is completely flipped. Like do I think that Peyton Thorne was a lot of our issue last year? Absolutely. I think that just eyeball test tells you that. Do I think that it was all him? No. I think that we've had some difficulty over the past few years, going back to when Seth Williams. Like I think that was the last guy that could get himself open. I think that we might actually have some guys who can play now. And then also Hugh, he hasn't fully committed to this, but some combination of Hugh Freeze and Derek Nix are going to call plays, and I think that will benefit a lot, because I think that whether it's Hugh actually calling the plays or it's Nix calling the plays, I think Hugh is going to get what he wants out of the offense. So I think that's obviously going to be beneficial for the offense as a whole, but also for Peyton. And then also coaches are in the quarterback's ears now. We have moved to headsets in the helmets like the NFL, and I think that's going to be massive.
Long overdue.
Long overdue. Thank you for saying that. It's not something that the 3 of us talk about very often, but I think, yes, long overdue. I don't know why we wouldn't have just done that like when the technology became available. And I think what that can do for young quarterbacks in college versus what it does in the NFL, like I think that's going to greatly enhance just the opportunity. Like Peyton's going to have a leg up going into like when he snaps the ball type deal, and
100%.
I think for development purposes for him, for Walker White or whoever the next guy up is, if we end up with Juju Lewis, like I think just having somebody who understands what he very specifically, I mean, enough to just be like, hey, they're playing soft over here on this guy, like just without even just like, hey, heads up, like this one should be a throw or whatever, whatever the situation should be. I think that's going to be as a drastic help as anything else.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
All right, I just
want to get that.
Y'all aren't gonna believe this, but there was one on my can, and it's under my thumb right now. Fucking call.
No kidding.
Yeah. I don't want to let it go to show you because I don't want it to fly off. So I'll just. Did you see it drop?
I saw it drop.
That was a little bitch ass.
Good work, Santana. All right, one down.
Yeah.
So
broke my lamp.
I will say with one of the with the headsets in the helmet for the quarterback coming in, I am gonna miss the outlandish things that play callers do on the sidelines. All those cards.
I think we'll still get those.
That.
I think we'll still get those because you're still going to have like the offensive line needing communication, and a lot of these spread teams have coaches that are signaling directly to position groups. One guy signaling to the quarterback, one to the receivers, one to the offensive line. There's 20 of them over there with all different sorts of shit that means whatever. I think we will still get to see some of that. It just probably won't be as prevalent as it has been in the past.
Yeah, I agree.
I just remember on our we were a spread team and we did no huddle, so we had wristbands, but they were offensive line wristbands and then skill player wristbands. So like if it were like some kind of pass play, it would be like on the skill one, it'd be like a 25 red X Y whatever whatever this offensive crazy offensive. For ours, it would just be like 70.
60 set.
Yeah, it'd be 70. Okay, that's 5-step drop. Okay, 60. Okay, slide protection.
Hey guys, I'll BRB.
What does that mean? What is that? Is that some sort of like gang code?
Yeah. So it's out some like dog whistle. What does BRB mean? But no, yeah, maybe they still will have their cards, their little things like with the poor guy that they use like have a towel. They try and get the tallest like assistant or something to have a towel over their arms in front of them, like the whole like putting the play sheet over their mouth.
You know what I always felt bad for, and I'm sure that nobody actually thinks about this, but the guys wearing the different colored hats and shirts. I was like, man, I would really like to be wearing like my school colors, over here.
Yeah, it's like it'll be Auburn, but the backup quarterback that's signaling in the plays has like a yellow penny on.
Yeah, it's like, man.
And a green hat.
Yeah, it's got like the green Auburn hat. It's like, what? Why? That looks so terrible. I'm sure that they don't actually give a shit. That's just my TV aesthetics complaint.
Yeah, but it's usually too like one of those pennies that you're like they couldn't find like a nicer one. Like
yeah,
that one looks like it's been in the equipment room for like 30 years.
It smells of mold.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's still wet, even though nobody's worn it in a long time.
Oh man, don't get me started on damp practice clothes.
I was about to say there's probably a difference between the level of football that we played and the high making millions of dollars college teams, but I think that one of my things I enjoy so much about football is that whether it's Pop Warner to NFL, like there's so many things that just stay the same.
You're right back again. Somebody knocked on the door and dog is upset now.
Coaches dipping. Certain schemes, and I just like to think that every football program has a situation where like, my practice clothes are still gross from 3 weeks ago.
Or like, I mean, we got ours washed, but even still, like coming out of the dryer, It's like, oh, it smells great. Oh, it's still damp.
Yeah.
Oh,
Still
great.
still
Or
gross.
crap, I forgot to put in my, because we had these, so it was like a collar type of thing that would clip together. It kind of looked like a dog collar, but you would run like, your sleeve and your neck, and you'd run like that into it and run all your other clothes into it. So like, and it was only like that big around. So everything was like bunched up around it. So even after it got in the dryer, they would throw them on the floor
Of course.
of this nasty locker room that we would get cussed out if they saw us walking barefoot on. But they would throw the freshly cleaned practice stuff onto the floor, and then it's like, okay, cool. If you get it out, and the outside parts are like nice and dry, but the inside parts where it's all like wadded up and together, and it's like, ooh, and you're putting it on, and like putting on like a cold, wet bathing suit.
Yeah. I hope
a cold, wet shirt, and you're just like, oh gosh.
I also hope that college players and pro players have to deal with the shoulder pads that you practiced in the rain the day before. And,
Oh, yeah.
All right, now it's time to practice again, and now it's 1,000 degrees outside. Put this damp, mold infested shell on.
And we never cleaned ours. The only times that ours got cleaned were after the season.
Dude.
Yeah, they would run around with a little can of Lysol, but I'm like, seriously? I can like wring my Under Armour shirt out, and I could wring it out with all this sweat I have. But yeah, that little spray of Lysol is really going to do the trick.
That's going to take care of it. Yeah, we had a big staph infection spread through the just athletic department at one point. And I was one of like 4 people who did not end up getting it, and I was always impressed by that, just because like literally everybody that I was around did, and we were all hitting and bumping and doing all the shit that you do, and yeah, it's very specifically because pads and shit just don't get washed. That's not
Between that and then the helmets weren't as bad, because I mean most of it was kind of plastic anyway and would dry.
My helmet always smelled good because the shampoo I used always smelled good. I'd sweat my shampoo into my helmet.
And then it sweats into your eyes, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Then your eyes are clean. That's how science works.
Yeah, they're burning. You can barely open them, but they're clean. And then just thinking about it now, but you would always you'd shove your helmet that you always had your mouthpiece attached to in all of your stuff, or even I know for us, even our home, we still had to ride a bus to our stadium, so you would put your helmet inside your shoulder pads, and you would try and put your mouthpiece in inside the kind of the helmet, but still, I mean, you're moving around, it's hitting all the inside of your helmet and the inside of those pads. And
what I will say about how just fucking disgusting high school sports in general can be is that I do credit that to how good my immune system is.
That between that and living in the dorms in college, my immune system was, because even when I was living in the dorms, a lot of the people that didn't really play sports were a lot of people that always got sick.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I mean, I would still get sick, but it'd be like a runny nose for a couple of days, just kind of our annoyance.
Yeah.
Whereas these people would be stuck in the bed for 3 days.
Yeah. Because our shit was always gross. And so I know that the things that I've breathed in my life are just the things I've put in my mouth because of
that, working out in the weight room where you'd have 3 or 4 people to a station, and all of you, I mean, you're in especially a time where it's middle of summer workouts and it just rained.
Yeah.
So everything inside that weight room is just humid as hell. You can't even look, and there's mirrors all over the walls, but you can't even look at the mirrors because they're all fogged up.
Mirrors are fogged up. You're dripping on your buddy. Your buddy's dripping on you.
and then you're doing bench press and laying down on the bench and doing the bench press, and one after the other. Like, ugh.
Yeah, miss it though. Yeah.
I know, right? We were young. I mean, that's
Yeah. It was actually, that's the thing, is like so much shit that you put up with when you're young because that's just what you're supposed to do, that as an adult I'm like, ugh.
yeah. The mouthpiece one for me is just
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna have to get a new mouthpiece daily. That would be or start brushing my mouthpiece or something.
or like I'm gonna get like a case to carry it in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and just think about like we'd get like protein or whatever. Like, all right, if you have a cup, bring a cup, and just kind of look at whatever you had in your locker from the day before. You're like,
Oh yeah,
fuck it, it'll work.
some old water bottle that's been in the back for like 3-4 months.
Yeah, you like open it and smell it. You're like,
well, let me fill it up with water, wish it out, and then it'll be fine.
It'll be fine after that. Yeah.
Or the big coolers of Gatorade that we also use to ice our ice foot injuries and ankle injuries and things in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Get your foot out of there. We need that for drinks.
Yeah. Is there still ice in there? Oh, okay, cool. We'll just throw the Gatorade powder thing. Because we only got Gatorade till after practice. Like, it was water all before and during. But then we would sit outside like by the track, because our locker room was so small, and especially if you were like if you were on a top locker, like you had to wait. So we just be like, the offensive linemen like be like, hell with it. We go inside, grab one of the coolers, and bring it outside, and just sit there with a cup and just like pound the Gatorade.
The coach's Gatorade was always the better Gatorade.
Oh yeah, because they put 2 pouches in for one thing.
Yeah, and it'd be sweet as fuck, but like really good.
Whereas ours, it was like 1 pouch into that 5-gallon Gatorade bucket.
It's basically just colored water.
Exactly. You get like a hint of flavor. It's like, is this really helping? Like, or the times where like it was usually like the first spring practice, and then the first like full pad practice, and like we would always like that first like couple weeks of full pad practice, especially like during season. We had to weigh in and out, and then we would weigh, and you'd weigh in, and then you'd weigh out, and you'd lost like 8 pounds just with water.
Yeah.
And then it's, oh well, you need to gain all that back with water. You need to drink all that water. And then, of course, we never did. If you don't do that, then you're not going to play. Of course, that was one of my favorite things, like coming in as a freshman to the varsity, and then the offensive line go, oh, well, you need to gain 60 pounds before you can ever start. Yeah, I maybe gained like maybe 15, and I started the entire year. Like, I think, that was wishful thinking, but
I remember a coach bringing up a kid and being like, look at this kid. He eats this many calories. You need to be putting in this many calories a day, yada, yada. And, like, the kid did look good. He had great weight room muscles. But I don't think that he played, like, any sport the whole time that we were in school. Like, Kent will probably remember this. He was probably at the same workout. But, yeah, I think all of us sitting on the knee looking at that kid being like, yeah, but he's a fucking – like so I don't care how good he looks. Like, he's not good at anything.
Or my favorite was, so after sophomore year, between sophomore and the spring before junior year, I did gain a bunch of weight. And then I got bitched at because I wasn't running fast enough. And I'm like, I'm 30 pounds heavier. What do you want me to do? I don't weigh 200 pounds anymore. Like, I can't do all these drills and stuff and run like this.
Make up your mind.
It's brand new. It's not like I've been, doing all these running stuff at this weight right now. Like, luckily my offensive line coach was like, no, you're fine. Just give it a week or two. You'll get back into it. Obviously, you're a little heavier now. Your body's not used to moving like it was. But like, even talks you would have to have with the head coach every so often. Like, yeah, because players get down, especially in high school. Like, you kind of get down, especially going into my senior season. We had a whole new defensive scheme. So we've been practicing against the 4-2 defensive scheme for years. Nobody in our region ever ran anything other than a 4-2. So, but then, like, come spring, like this, our team changes to like the 3-5, and or not the 3, the 3-3, the 3-4, and we have no idea how to block this stuff, and we're getting our ass kicked pretty much every practice. And then apparently, since I was a senior center, it was my fault somehow. But the coach, the head coach comes in. Well, I've seen that y'all are doing really good, and I don't know if you want to play. We could play. We'd love to have you, but if you don't, you could just leave. And it's just like, dude,
yeah,
fucking give us a week. Like, I understand this stuff. I understand, especially like pass blocking. The pass blocking stuff we was invented for the 3-3 defense. Like, I know this. These other guys don't. They don't have the football IQ. Like, I'm trying my best here.
It's also funny. Like, I know that football is a sport that builds men and builds character and so on and so forth. But for grown men to not be able to differentiate like how to talk to somebody, like you're 17, 18 years old at this point, and he's like, look, we'd love to have you our starting center, but if you don't want to,
I've been starting for 2 years, so this is going on my senior year.
And he's like, if you don't want it, you can hit the door. It's like, what does that say to a young person? Like, that is just not the way to fucking handle that. Like, I'm all about tough love and the the machismo that being in a football environment, what comes with that. But Jesus, like, hey, bud, somebody I'm sure that you've known was he your coach the whole time?
Yeah.
So you
had in my freshman year.
So you probably had a pretty decent relationship with the guy, and for him to say something like that to you, just don't realize what
luckily,
words do to young people.
Luckily, like I said, I had a good offensive line coach who was like, look, I'm having trouble getting this across to y'all. Like, you're good. We're good. We're going to get it. Give us a couple of weeks. Like even with the, gaining weight thing and not being able to run as fast as I could. And so they were thinking that I was just like loafing around. That was another one of those conversations. And it was just like, dude, like, don't you your office is right there where we work out, like where our workout, because we had our own like workout station. Like when we broke up into stations, that was me and like the 2 other like good offensive linemen, and everybody knew they're going there, and it was right in front of his window. And it's like, you see me working out, like you see me doing everything every day.
Gotta love it.
Like I said, thank God for that offensive line coach.
Yeah, where's this head coach now? Let's call this motherfucker. Get him on the line.
I was going to say he's a middle school principal now. I don't think he coaches anything football anymore.
Well, good, because it doesn't sound like he knows how to communicate. Good thing that he's a middle school principal with all his good communication skills to young people. Kenyatta, who knocked on your door? The Mormons?
Delivery person. And then, obviously, Big in here got upset and had to go outside and check it out. And then ran into my uncle and got some fresh vegetables. So for anybody who's watching, and if that's not the most southern story.
Yeah, that's especially where you live. Like, yeah, I could see that. Because even here, like, you go outside. I go outside just to like bring the garbage can to the road, and then end up talking to the neighbor for like 45 minutes.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So sorry about the delay, fellas. I don't know what you guys were talking about. Sounds like possibly not great coaches or communicators at the coaching position, at least.
Mostly, it was about the sanitation of high school athletics.
Yeah, that too.
That is where we left off. If you guys want to continue talking about that, we can. But we did
I think we covered it. It was gross.
we did a good bit on Auburn. Normie, do you want to talk about your expectations for this non-Nick Saban Alabama expectations?
I will save that for next time when
Okay.
I'm better prepared for that because, and this, my thing is I usually fucking hate preseason rumor mill shit. I hate it. I've been burned a couple of times on it. The leading up to the 2022 football season, where they said Alabama was going to beat, nobody was going to touch them, and all this, and Bryce Young and Will Anderson and all that, and to not even make the playoffs that year and having some pretty upsetting things that year, it was like, all right, after this, I'm not going to start. I try not to do it to not get into the hype of, oh yeah, we're going to be fucking awesome this year. But
well, that's good. That's good.
But I should
need to teach a class to Dallas fans.
Yeah. Overall, my expectation is at least a playoff berth. I'm not saying we got to win the SEC. I'm not saying we got to win that playoff game. Just getting there.
Here is a thing. And we don't have to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but Texas coming into the league, I don't know if you guys saw the party that they threw out there in Austin. Thousands and thousands of people showed up just about them becoming members of the SEC. Them hiring away A&M's baseball coach, which apparently that deal had been done well before the season was, like months before the World Series, not maybe months, a month before the World Series college baseball even started.
I didn't hear that. So that whole, like, that's a selfish question situation. Like,
yep.
Oh my God, that just makes that so much worse.
Yeah, dude, that deal was basically inked. Now, to be fair to, I can't think of his name, whatever the baseball coach is, he has a relationship with the new Texas AD, or not new, but like that Texas AD doesn't have that much of a relationship with the A&M AD, who there's rumors might be difficult to work with or whatever. Doesn't matter. It all stinks. It all stinks really to high heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like A&M. I think that they are way too proud of an average football program or sports in general. But they were in the College World Series in baseball, and their coach already had his foot out the door. And then they lost by a run, and it was a hell of a series between them and Tennessee.
In the third game.
Yep. And then after their celebration, and then some of the things that they've been saying, I hope that the SEC humbles them so very much, but they have a very favorable schedule.
They have a great schedule, and that team is like, had Texas come to the SEC even 3 years ago, like the difference between where they're at versus where they are is.
Yeah, I hate that they get to come to the SEC on their upswing.
Yeah.
Yeah, where were they when all those Texas are back years? Like that's the Texas I wanted in the SEC.
The Charlie Strong, the Tom Hermans.
Yep.
Those years.
Yep. So I mean, obviously we'll see what happens. Obviously they're gonna just wipe Colorado State to the ground. They have to travel to Michigan. I actually asked Santana before this show started. There's a lot of sharp money coming in on Michigan, I hear. I don't know why. They lost a lot. They lost, obviously, J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum. I can't think of the receiver's name.
Roman Wilson.
They sent 13 players to the NFL, and then I think graduated another 3 or 4.
And their head coach to the NFL.
And, of course, their head coach. New head coach, new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So a lot to replace for old Big Blue Nation. But like I said, I mean, Vegas shark money. There's a reason why they do it professionally.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
Texas
then
only
it's in the
three.
big house.
Yeah, Texas is only a 3.5-point favorite.
Okay, all right. Interesting game there, but if they drop that, obviously they'll crush UTSA, UL Monroe. I don't know what state Mississippi State is in right now as a football program.
Mississippi.
It's Mississippi State.
It's in Mississippi.
Yeah, Dan Mullen couldn't help that program. Nobody can.
They do get their the Red River Shootout. I'm not going to call it the Red River Rivalry because that's stupid. And obviously Oklahoma was very solid last year. So right now I'm counting only 2 possible losses, and both of those games they would be favored in with Michigan and Oklahoma. Then obviously you get Georgia. How do you guys think that one goes?
Right now, Texas is a half-point favorite.
That is insane.
Really interesting.
I mean, it's in Austin.
That makes me think that it'll probably change between now and then.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But
I mean, it's July 5th, so
yeah, but
that game is like mid-season.
Just for it to open at a as the dogs being the dogs, that's interesting to me. I think Georgia probably wins that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. So at this point, 2 possible losses and one that we kind of unanimously agree that we think will be a loss, because I do think Georgia wins. Tough to tell. 2 great quarterbacks, maybe the 2 best quarterbacks in college football going up head to head right now in
Also,
Beck and Ewers.
We're probably, yeah. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. 1,000% agreed with that, Kenyatta. Like both of those guys could come off the board right after one another come the first round in April. Clearly, Vanderbilt. What a welcome to the SEC moment that would be.
That would be so Vandy.
If Vandy beats Texas,
1-11, baby. But
Florida is a great brand, but obviously not in a position to beat Texas right now. Arkansas is not in a great. The Kentucky game, I think Kentucky should be. It's not like you can just move past that, and I don't think that A&M is going to be all that great, but it's not like they're going to be all that bad, and that's going to Kyle Field to renew a long dead rivalry.
And they've pissed them off.
And
are coming into the SEC like they're going to run the SEC like they ran the Big 12 and the Big West and every other conference they've been in. And man, I've never had any hate or love for Texas. I actually did love the 2005 Texas team.
I like the Colt McCoys and the Vince Young Texas teams.
Yeah,
I like Mike Brown. I like the all-white uniform. I like Texas. Texas is all right.
But their fans are very Texas,
maybe it's just a Texas thing.
Maybe, that was it hit me just now. I was like, maybe it's a Texas thing.
Yeah,
but just wouldn't understand.
Yeah, Kentucky will be a little bit tricky, except for Kentucky's got to go to Austin. But then, go into College Station the very last week, an actual rivalry weekend game with your bitter rivals who generally Texas has the upper hand on, I believe, fairly substantially. And I can pull those numbers while we're talking.
When's the last time they played?
2011, I believe.
So they don't even have a line on this one yet.
But I don't know. That game could be tricky, and it's maybe my most highly anticipated game coming into the season of just they've already started calling themselves like they're the real UT opposed to Tennessee petition for no horns downs.
Dude, did you see Sankey get asked about that?
No, I didn't see that. What did he say?
It was on the day that they were officially inducted or whatever. I'm also going to burn my house down if these flies don't quit. Yeah, so he was with Oklahoma on the day that they were officially inducted or whatever, and somebody asked him, "Will horns down be a penalty?" And he just said, "It's July 5th. I'm not going to talk about potential football penalties." And the way that he said it, it made me think like, no, like no,
Yeah.
it's not going to, like fuck, no, that's stupid. Like,
If it becomes an official football penalty, I want our state and our teams to go to the CUSA or the AAC or go to the Big 12.
it would. The thing is, the money that Texas brought in for the Big 12, and the money that they have, obviously, they could swing and sway a lot of favor for them in other conferences. I don't see, even with their financials, being able to come into the SEC and change how the SEC does things. So, like I don't think if there was something like none of you are Nick Saban, and that's like the only guy that I would really be able to think that could have his way, and he couldn't even change football the way that he wanted to change football as far as rules go. And then he just said, "Okay, fuck it, I'll just do it the way that y'all are doing it, and I'll do it better than everybody."
He'll be the one that like, I told y'all didn't want this rule.
Yeah,
Look what I'm doing now.
right.
There's so many clips of that.
And it's one of my favorite things about him. And he obviously had more sway in college football than anybody else. It would really, really shock me if that's what we ended up getting, if we got Texas being able to throw around their money bags to get what they want.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, and that would be something like Saban would tell his team, like, no, we're not going to do that, but never be like, no, this shouldn't be allowed. As far as the horns down thing, which I think making a rule against doing the horns down thing is absolutely just ugly.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Well, and I thought that Sankey addressed it, before their official induction. It's like, if players are just doing this, or fans, or whatever, it's not a problem. But just like any taunting rule, you can't do it in the other player's face.
And
that's fine, because you also can't do that in the other player's face. Like, you can't.
Or to the crowd.
Yeah, any gesticulation towards, that's like right in someone's face, it gets flagged no matter what. But man, I hope Texas gets humbled. And once again, never had any love or hate for them. But man, I hope. The reason that I started thinking about this is Normie talking about Bama and who wins the SEC. I think Texas has as good a shot as anybody, and they play my favorite in the season at home in Austin against Georgia. And then the rest of their SEC schedule is, Oklahoma's stout, Kentucky's a wild card, A&M with a rivalry in College Station at Kyle Field, like Santana was saying. There's some tricky stuff there, but then pull up, if you can, Normie, pull up Oklahoma's schedule and see how they get welcomed to the SEC.
Yeah, Oklahoma's is bad. Even one of their non-conference is Houston, which is not a
throwaway
team. Yeah.
No, but it's not. It's also not
Michigan. Tulane is not.
It's not Michigan. You're right.
This is true.
But then Tennessee and Heupel have been doing good, solid things. At Auburn, doesn't matter how good Auburn is or isn't. When you're at Auburn,
I think we're going to find out how good or not they are that weekend.
I agree with that. And then, of course, they get their rival, Texas. South Carolina, I really, really like Shane Beamer. But I don't know if anybody can do at South Carolina what Spurrier did. I think that's going to be the height of their program.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. The rabid fan base, good facilities. We'll see. Ole Miss also in the mix to possibly be able to win the SEC. I don't think so, because they've never done it. But, one-loss team last year.
Never even played for the game.
Yeah, never even been to Atlanta. Maine, obviously, that's a win. And then
dreaded Maine Bears.
the Maine Bears, you got to dread them. Missouri, returning a lot of talent and also a one-loss team. And Drinkowitz, that is, seems to have that program pointed in the right direction. So we'll see. And then Alabama and LSU to finish the season. I mean, they got screwed.
Well, that the 3-game endings is pretty bad, especially going to Missouri, going to LSU, and then playing Alabama at home, sandwiches in between that.
Yep.
Whoa.
I mean, there's a lot of threats on this schedule, but like the big ones, and not even as an Auburn homer, it's quite literally because it's at Auburn. Okay, so it starts with Tennessee. Now you do get them in Norman at home. I can't think of the name of their stadium right now, but still, Tennessee is a very good team. You have to travel to Auburn. Doesn't matter what Auburn's talent level is. That's difficult. Play your bitter rival, who we were just talking about, is already on an upswing and is loaded with talent. Your cool down is South Carolina, should be a win. Then you travel to the Grove in Ole Miss, a one-loss team last year. Super cool down with the Maine Bears. And then, like you were saying, Normie, at Missouri, Alabama at home, at LSU. That is a brutal schedule.
Well, I think one of their saving graces, as far as the last part, so it looks like their bye week will be scheduled between Missouri and Alabama.
Yeah, that 9.
So they will have that.
Yeah.
But I
don't know how much it'll help. But
and also, that is a very late bye week.
Yeah. I mean, we shall see. But I, once again, have never had any. I've actually disliked Oklahoma so much because of Bob Stoops and all of his shots at the SEC for so long. Mm-hmm. And then Lincoln Riley did them dirty. Venables, I like a lot. Had a mediocre at best first year, a very solid bounce back second year. Now his third year gets this fucking schedule. Unlucky. Unlucky. But I don't know, they seem to be handled with a little bit more humbleness and class. So in the Texas-Oklahoma rivalry, I think I picked a side and I pick Oklahoma. That could change. Once again, wild. I've never hated or loved Texas, but the Vince Young year, the Colt McCoy years, like Santana was saying, excellent color scheme, rabid fan base, love it. But in hell, SEC Media Days is already in Dallas. Their very first year in. Why?
Because Dallas.
It's money.
I don't know. Santana, he's got bold predictions. We can also run through Florida's schedule if you want to see the most brutal schedule, rated by everybody as the most brutal schedule. And I will be shocked if Napier is the head coach of the Florida Gators in 2025. Maybe by the end of 2024.
Texas A&M.
Don't drop that first game against Miami.
Kind of seems like it. Yep. Stacked ass team. And they've got the Cam Ward factor now. Samford, of course, they're going to win, but not an easy win.
I was about to say, Samford's not just an absolute pushover.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an easy win. It'll be like a 30, 35-point victory, something like that. But it is a good football program for what their resources are, no doubt. You get A&M at home. A&M, for all of their discombobulation and Jimbo Fisherism's terrible wake that he left, still is stocked with talent.
That defense is going to be ridiculous this year.
Exactly. I mean, they're still ranked as far as talent, including the transfer portal. They're still ranked 3rd or 4th because that's one thing Fisher could do is recruit his friggin' ass off. At Mississippi
Fisher
State,
or their money. Is it Fisher recruiting him, or was it the money recruiting him?
Yes.
Yes.
So at Mississippi State, obviously Mississippi State's always a wild card. UCF at home, I would call that a wild card program because Gus coaches them. I mean,
It would not shock me at all if UCF beat Florida. I think UCF is in a better, on a better trajectory than Florida is right now.
I 100% agree with that.
That could just be hit shooting, but I feel like that's.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. And then obviously you get Kentucky at home.
UCF, by the way.
And Mark Stoops, I love. Bob Stoops, I don't love you, Bob. Mark is fine, and has done more with less at Kentucky than most people could hope to accomplish. You get Georgia at home, that's brutal.
Hold on, Windows. Okay. No, sorry, I'm just saying. The thing with Kentucky is Kentucky always looks great up until it seems like the past 4 or 5 years, Kentucky looks like awesome until they get to the Georgia game. They get embarrassed in the Georgia game, and then they're a 6-win team the rest of the year. So the Kentucky one, I don't know. And we were talking about Kentucky with Oklahoma.
When Florida has owned Kentucky,
yeah,
up until just recently, I think what is that the longest winning streak?
Like 31 years or something.
Yeah, it was insane.
God damn it!
And then, of course, I think that they lose to Georgia, and then they have to go to Texas. Then they get LSU at home. Talk about great coaches and just solid programs. LSU comes to visit Ole Miss, an incredible program at this point in time. And Florida State, that's a huge question mark, obviously. They lost a ton. But I like Norvell, and Florida State has a ton of resources. So, man, that's a brutal schedule. I mean, quite literally, your breaks are Samford. Yep, that's it. That is it.
And
there's no other team on the schedule that is a break.
And the week of the 26th, which is their bye week.
Yep.
These are the 2 easiest weeks for them.
Dang. That is a hell of a schedule.
Napier knows that he's kind of on the hot seat already, and schedules drop, and he's like, "Oh, honey, I'm gonna wake up in the morning, drink the coffee, and go look at the schedule that we have today."
If he didn't call his agent,
immediately? I'm interested in anything out there.
Also, it's like, honey, get the house ready to sell.
Go ahead and grab.
We will not be here next year.
Don't worry about getting a sign; they'll put it in the yard for us.
Yeah. Because by October, we may be looking for a new home.
Man, that is a shit show, and Florida has proven to just be a difficult job pressure-wise overall. Anyways,
It almost killed Urban.
But I mean, it's a high-pressure job. Talent-rich state, but they have to compete with Florida State, Miami, UCF's coming up, and not to mention all the rest of the country coming in and pilfering Florida talent now. They have great facilities, a lot of wealth and money and NIL and this, that, or the other, but man.
Where in the season does it happen if it happens in the season?
Okay, lost to Miami, won at Samford. 1-1, not too bad. Oh, such a toss-up with A&M.
Call it a loss at A&M and a victory over Mississippi State.
Okay, 2-2.
I would say if they lose to Mississippi State at that point, which I don't think they will, but if they do end up messing that one up, losing to Mississippi State at home, I think then.
All right, if they do fuck up at Mississippi State, that's early. That's the only reason that I would say that that's not where I would go. But the UCF game, because if you lose to UCF and then you look down the barrel after that,
I'm calling it. Go ahead, Sento.
Just if he loses to UCF, then I guarantee you that he doesn't make it through. Like if he made it to the Georgia game, I'd be surprised, but I promise you he doesn't make it after the Georgia game because they'll get run out of the building.
My
They
prediction.
want to do it before the Georgia game just so it's not as bad press wise.
Exactly. My
Even if they
prediction.
get run out, then it's like, oh, well, we didn't have we fired our coach. Sorry.
Yeah, but what if he fucks around and beats Georgia? You know, then do you?
Well, that's the thing. My prediction is at Tennessee. Like they lose that game.
Double digits.
In Neyland, probably double digits. Yeah, probably like a 13, 14 point victory, maybe even worse. At Tennessee, shortly after Saturday, October 12th, Napier's no longer the head coach, like Santana was saying, so they can start to control the narrative for the rest of the season, get an early jump on a new head coaching search, and then an interim will take the rest of the beating of this schedule. Poor bastard.
I mean, like legit, just going through it. Loss at Miami, you beat Samford. I'll say just for the sake of this conversation, loss at A&M. You beat State. If you lose at UCF, where do you find another win on the schedule?
It's tough.
I don't, and that it would be honestly like one of those late seasons that one year that they beat LSU.
Well, and I think LSU may be the next winnable game because we don't really know what's going to happen on offense for LSU, and it's not like their defense has been doing anything worth celebrating. So
historically bad last year.
Yeah, and so LSU may be the answer. Like,
but at that point, he hasn't survived to that point.
Oh no! Even if they keep him into this point and he gets that win at LSU, drops it against Ole Miss, and then loses to in-state rival Florida State, he's not making it to the next recruiting cycle. Like the December signing day, he will not be a part of.
No, I think he's, my opinion right now, he's a lame duck coach.
Well, unless Florida look at the schedule also and went, like who with this roster we have, who would put together a decent season here, and maybe we give him one more. But I would be shocked if that were the case.
I was shocked that Florida is still in the top 10 teams talent wise for what they've done between just recruiting and recruiting over the last 3 seasons, and now they factor in the transfer portal. They were in the top 10. So, well, I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't see it.
I don't see it. I mean, you let your best offensive weapon is now in Georgia. I don't. That's the thing is like you can tell me that they've recruited well and transfer portaled well, but like I don't know that team. So, like the teams that you do know that are good, like right?
Yeah.
And I know that Georgia's bad, so you can't tell me that they're Florida's bad, so you can't tell me that their talent's that great.
No, 100% agreed. But man, if I was the program, a fan of this program, head coach, player, or whatever, and the schedule's dropped, and I looked at this, I'd be like, well, I guess my fall is free. I'm not watching. I don't have to be.
This is a season that really comes down to the love of the game. Like getting out there on Saturday, having a few drinks with your buddies, and cheering on the boys because that's what they are. Just
hoping like hope that you beat somebody that you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
that you beat LSU or
you 1,000% have to beat Samford State and UCF. Like you have to beat those teams because those are your only like on paper winnable games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the more that we sit here and talk about it, the more I sit here and stare at that UCF logo. I'm like, I think UCF goes into the swamp and takes that one. And KJ Jefferson,
KJ Jefferson, who fits the mold of what a Gus Malzahn offense needs.
If he will call a Gus Malzahn offense and not whatever the fuck he's been calling for the past 10 years, like Lee.
Anyways, yeah, just for the sake of conversation, I put that one in. We're at hour and 45 minutes. Santana has bold predictions. I'll do mine on the fly.
I was about to say if y'all want to just save bold claims for next week, and that way we can all kind of Because I just shot these from the hip, like when I sat down at the computer, so we can do that next week if you want to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you guys want to do.
And maybe I can make a graphic for that one too.
Wow. Our leader and commander, Normie doing graphics.
Well, it took me a minute. I mean, I finally did get this one. That was the base setting, and I was like, well, I mean, I'll just keep it. Like,
yeah, it knew somebody's bitching about football. It's probably Auburn related.
It was either that choice or some what was it, black or red and gold,
scarlet
and gold, whatever that team in San Francisco wears.
Normie,
just like that team in LA that wears that baby blue and yellow, which those baby blue uniforms have always been awesome.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I'm not even gonna knock them. They've got great uniforms. We use bone and blue and yellow, and it's Rams blue, and I can't remember what our yellow is called. Our yeah, pretty much our bone color of white, I think, is stupid. But normally, I don't want to defend Santana or his stupid team that drives me insane every NFL season. But you have to know the colors. You're not wearing your Stallions hat today, but the color scheme is the exact same.
But this one, Stallions do it better.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Shots fired!
Jesus. I do have an issue with how people feel about both Auburn and San Francisco's uniforms. Like anytime you look at like best helmets, best uniforms, whatever, neither program end up like very high. And I know I'm obviously biased about it, but San Francisco's all whites with the gold helmet, the San Francisco's Holmes with the scarlet tops and the white pants, like scarlet tops, gold pants, like the helmet itself, gold helmet with the fucking very classic logo. And then Auburn, I think, is just one of the best uniforms in sports, especially the all whites with the white helmet and the block AU. Like, those are just really good uniforms overall. I don't understand why they don't get more love.
Okay. I understand why Alabama's don't.
Alabama gets a shit ton of love. Everything that I watch, Alabama gets like way up there. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate especially Alabama's all whites with the red helmet. It's a very stellar classic look, kind of like Texas with the all whites. Like, it's a good look. I just don't understand, like, if that's a good look, which I agree that it is, and you were going to rank them that high, like, why the fuck Auburn wouldn't be somewhere in that range too, you know?
Well, with ours, all I've wanted for years, all I have fucking wanted as far as it comes to our jerseys, I don't want the crap that Oregon does. I don't want that crap. But just for one fucking game, and it could be in a home or away game, I don't care. Can you just bring back the white helmets just for one game a year? That's all I ask. And it could be an away game where it could be all white. And then the red stripe, red number. Like, that's all I ask for. And you can never get it.
I think between the three of us being fans of teams that have not traditionally changed their uniforms very much, like Auburn over the past couple of seasons have done this really wild and wacky thing where, like, every now and again the face mask color will be different.
Yeah,
which
never orange yet.
It'll be like that chrome blue face mask or something.
And that's great and that's cool. I am a traditionalist. I love Auburn's uniforms, both home and away. I don't think we need anything, but I wouldn't hate like just the one game where we come out with something, you know, weird. Kind of like the way that like an Ohio State or a Florida, some of these teams that have kind of very traditional uniforms, they'll all of a sudden be like, look at this weird thing. And I was like, well, that's a fun, weird thing. And then like you don't see it anymore, and that would be fine. Like this year, we play Oklahoma for the first time in Jordan-Hare as an SEC school, and we come out with, I don't know, blue helmets or some shit like that. Like that would be cool. I don't necessarily want blue helmets because I like, again, Auburn's helmet, but having something just a little bit of God, it's been a long time, but we played Vanderbilt, and I don't remember what we were celebrating, but Auburn like took the AU off the helmet. So like we took the stripes off of the jerseys and pants, I think, and took the AU off the helmet. So it was just all white with like numbers on the helmet. And I thought that was a really cool look, and that's like the weirdest thing that I've ever seen Auburn do, and it really didn't look that much different than their
And
like
the players
normal.
seem to have been begging for orange face masks for like basically 5 years, like because it keeps getting rumored, and then every time a player is asked, they're like, "Hell yeah, that would be rad." Now I don't know what kind of visibility an orange face mask would give you. Like, it kind of seems like it might throw you off. Maybe the reason why the coaches and athletic departments like, no, it's a bad idea. I don't know. Obviously, Oregon's a very successful program, but in our last little bit of the show, just shoot from the hip. Best uniform in all of professional sports: football, basketball, college. Or a professional sport. College football is a professional sport now with NIL. Just any. Okay, so just all of sports, best uniform.
We did wear our orange face mask against Ole Miss last year.
Oh, did we?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that we did.
We did orange and white face mask and blue.
Okay, but not like a solid orange.
Not like a solid orange helmet. No, like just the face mask.
But the face masks were solid orange.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I thought that it hadn't happened yet. So neat. And I guess they got what they wanted. Not that I couldn't care less about that. That's players specifically go to teams with neat jerseys. So, yeah. So, what's y'all's favorite jersey
in sports or in college?
In sports.
It's a tough one.
I'll start because I have one, and I think the first time I saw it was last year. They might have used it the year before. I'm not positive. I've always kind of liked the Bengals jersey, which a lot of people hate. They don't. It's busy, orange and black, the stripes on the helmet. That all to me looks rad. But when they did the white and black tiger,
stripes, that was awesome.
Dude, I was like, that they shouldn't ever do anything else other than that. That uniform is my favorite.
One that's not really my favorite, but I do like it, is the Lakers white home jerseys.
Oh yeah,
when they do those.
That's a very.
It's not my favorite, but it's like one of those like because they only do it with like when they're at home on like Sunday or something like that. Like it's very specific, but I've always liked those.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one that like again, it's not really my favorite, but I do like it when they do it. It's LSU's purple jersey.
Yeah, LSU's got some good colors. That they call it purple and gold. It's purple and yellow.
Their purple jersey is like why don't you use that? Like that's
it's a good look. It's sharp.
One of my favorites though is one I mentioned earlier. It's that San Diego powder blue.
Even as a San Diego hater,
with that lightning strike on it, and they're with their white helmets with the lightning bolt on it, like.
Oh, Ole Miss!
I was about to say
script.
Ole Miss, the powder blue helmet. That's kind of a recent one that I really like. Really, I mean the Rams Kenyatta. I like the light blue of the Rams. I don't know. I mean, really, for me, it's super biased. I just love Auburn's away jerseys, and I mean everything that San Francisco does.
Well, we do preface this show with bias will be in here, so if that's your pick, I thought it was a question that we hadn't talked about yet.
If Alabama, we could just get some damn white helmets just for one game a year. And it's traditional too because they did it during the Bear Bride era, and then one of the coaches in the 80s kind of brought it back.
Yeah, that's not even like taking like or like you were talking about, like that's not even going to like the Oregon thing or like the Florida's black jerseys or something like that. That's something that has happened for a decade plus.
And the only other time in my lifetime that I can think of that they did any kind of different kind of jersey was, I think it was during the Shula years, and it was the red jersey, and then around like the collar was houndstooth.
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
you could barely see it, and honestly, I thought it was kind of dumb.
I thought in the 2010 campaign, when they played South Carolina for military appreciation or whatever, they had like camouflage on their shoulder pads or something, like just a stripe. I could be wrong on that.
That may have been another team.
Another one that I enjoy is the creamsicle Buccaneers jersey, and not so much because
and that old logo.
Yeah, the old logo is what I love. Like the jersey is fine, but I love that
old
Buccaneer with the knife in his teeth is awesome.
100%.
Oh, these Giants uniforms, like the old school blue with like Giants written out on the helmet. Really like those.
Or if Alabama, if they really did want to go with something like crazy, they could even it would still be a traditional thing, but it would be kind of like that Giants throwback. But Alabama had the ones very, very early on before I think they were even using helmets. But it was the crimson and white striped one. The stripes went down, but.
Another one,
it would be traditional, but just something every once in a while.
That I just thought of as we're talking about it, that people sing to the high heavens. Obviously, in most of our lifetimes, hasn't existed, but the Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the Houston Cougars that they just got shut down from using, that uniform that was
did they lose? I thought they were fighting.
Houston.
I don't know. Houston had a Houston Oilers styled uniform, and then the Texans or Titans, whichever one are that now, said stop it.
I think it's the Titans. I think that's the team that went after a few people, and a high school, the Cougars, and they went after, and I think it's the Titans. I don't want to, it could be the Texans, and I don't know, but a lot of them are fighting it. It's like there's no way.
That's
first
sick.
off, you guys like that, no, that's great. That's a great look. It's just sharp.
Because SMU is going to roll with some blue uniforms this year. These.
Yeah, I mean that's almost the same. That's pretty cool.
Also, who was their head coach? He was on the next round the other day. Shout out to the next round for anybody who likes sports talk. Please go look into them.
Rhett Lashley.
Yeah, Rhett Lashley. He was a delightful interview, and man, college football is going to be weird this year with all the realignment. Now they're in the ACC, but I believe also only lost one game last year.
Bring up their schedule because they talked about this during that interview, and I actually have them as one of my teams to shockingly make the playoffs, and I don't even know how shocking it would be because I think their schedule lines up pretty well. All they would really have to do is split between, I think they play Florida State and Clemson. So if they split those games, everything else is a winnable game, and more than likely that puts you in the top 12. Florida State and Louisville. So you split those two games, and it's not like that. Those are just, you could end up winning both of those games. But Nevada, Houston Christian, obviously BYU's not, it's a good football program.
I love Kalen Satake though.
I mean, and then the rest of the schedule, like if you can get past Florida State and Louisville, even if you drop both of those games, like now you don't really have a win to hang your hat on after that, but it wouldn't shock me for SMU to make some noise in the ACC this year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Louisville's a paper tiger. I mean, they lost to Florida State last year. But they were barely hanging on against a third string quarterback.
Yeah.
They had an excellent record last year, so no knock on them. But I think that they were a paper tiger.
You bring me a beer.
Yeah.
Oh, they lost to Pittsburgh, Kentucky, and FSU.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were one loss.
Yeah, that loss, because I think the loss to Kentucky was the one that was like they should have beat them. They had them beat, should have beat them. And then let Kentucky come back.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I was just thinking because it was the championship
on
game
accident
against FSU.
Yeah, which was probably the most boring championship game.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't because of these amazing like defensive plays or anything like that. It was just like
garbage offense. Yeah, no, it was hard to watch, no doubt. So yeah, I agree, Santana. I think SMU has a really good shot about making a lot of noise, and I'm pulling for Lashley.
Yeah, I am too. It makes me, because he's been so successful off on his own, it makes me wonder what kind of handcuffs he had on him at Auburn.
Handcuffs, but blame
a
lot between fans and his coach.
Well, I mean, and that's just part of, that position. Hey, you need to figure out something new to do with your offense coordinator, or we're going to figure out something new to do with you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it happened to Mark Richt a lot during the Georgia game.
Here's the bus. Yeah. There you go up underneath it.
Yeah. Alrighty, we've been streaming for over 2 hours. So, any final thoughts on anything?
Can't wait for it to get here. Feels like we're getting close. Because we're steamrolling that way. I did the math not too long ago. I don't know how many shows we have before kickoff, but it's not many.
I'm super excited for bold predictions next week. Maybe here, since we don't have that many shows left before the season kicks off, start doing some rankings of it's going to be football. I mean, we discuss other sports, but we're a football show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read when the opening video played for the half a second that it did. I read all the lists of sports, and I was like, we know that those sports exist for sure.
We'll discuss them. Oh shit! This isn't the final thought. We don't even have to talk about it at all whatsoever. But talking about one of the other sports that every once in a while we'll brush upon, Bronny James getting drafted to the Lakers. Nepotism, or does he have the skill? Question we can answer next week if you guys want.
Yeah, we can put that on the docket.
Yeah. Because that is an interesting one. That definitely is. Well, alrighty. If y'all haven't already, hit that thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button and click the little bell next to the subscribe button. And anytime we go live, you will get a notification letting you know. And that's about it. So we'll see everybody later. Y'all have a good one.